Hey everyone, Livy here, back with another video. Today I am doing an amazing tag by Sylvie at Tarot Magpie, and this is Deck Vibe Check. Basically, how this tag works is you look at specific tarot cards that, how do I put this? Specific tarot cards that when you get like a new deck, for instance, you tend to look at more closely because you want to make sure that the depiction of them is done correctly or the way that you personally prefer to see those cards. And I've noticed, everyone tends to gravitate towards different cards. So this is just kind of like a cool examination of what cards we all tend to like the best, I guess, or prefer, or like tend to look at the most if deciding, is this deck gonna work for me, And I'm not gonna lie to you, I actually have a lot. I'm gonna try to get through them really, really quickly. I even had to ditch like at least 3 or 4 additional cards that I normally look at just to make this slightly shorter. So we're gonna start right now with my personal favorite depictions of, well, maybe not personal favorite, but like how I tend to see the Hermit. And I don't know what I'm doing here with these. I'm just kind of like laying them out however, and then I swear to God, I'm actually going to explain like how these work. But let's see. So the Hermit is one of my, I don't know, the Hermit is one of my favorite cards in general anyways. But I do tend to notice that I group the Hermit, like what I find okay for the Hermit, in several different ways. Now, a lot will know that like the most traditional Hermit kind of goes into these veins, okay? Like this is a cute little Hermit from the mini Oak Ash and Thorn deck. This one is from the pocket edition of the Prisma Visions. This one is from Mini Cat Tarot. I believe that's, yes, Mini Cat Tarot. I know I'm not getting, I shouldn't be getting that wrong, right? This is from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, the Literary Tarot, and even the new Zerner Farber Tarot, and then you get things that are just like more minimalist, but from like the Spacious Tarot, and from the Raven's Prophecy. Okay. The thing that all these hermits have in common, right, is that the way that they see the Hermit is more on the side of lighting the way in the darkness, right? Most of these have depiction of it's dark outside, you're shining a light to guide your path forward, right? This is the most traditional way I think that most people will see the Hermit depicted. And personally, I don't mind it, which is why I wanted to show these cards, because these are like some that I thought were like the best looking of that bunch. But it's not necessarily my all-time favorite way to see the Hermit, so I want to also talk about the other cards. But I did want to give a special shout out of all these that I kind of liked the look of the best. I feel like these three honestly is the better the way to put that. Honestly, kind of do it the best for me. Well, these two are very similar to each other, of like lighting your way in the darkness, especially in the forest, having the light there so you could hide away and think and reflect for a while. They're just like pretty depictions. But then, this Hermit, I think, does a good job of like hinting at the other bits to it, because this is from the Literary Tarot. This is Frankenstein's monster. And, not long after he is created, he hides away just like the Hermit to try to escape the world of humanity, because he's disgusted by his very essence and everything related to that. There's a lot of complications with Frankenstein in general, but I think this is a great depiction of the Hermit and kind of like the act of having to remove yourself, but also trying to light your way forward, But I'm going to move these out of the way and also say that when I think about the Hermit personally, and I'm going to push these a little closer so this is like a little easier to see here. I personally prefer when people think about the Hermit in terms of not necessarily just being the light in the darkness, because that is like one thing I do like about, like, I don't mind seeing it, but to me, the real essence of the Hermit card is about retreat. It's about moving away and not necessarily being the light. I mean, yes, you are creating a sanctuary, but it's showing it in ways that recharge and rejuvenate you. I always talk about this one. Again, you guys have probably seen this version of the Hermit so many times now. This is the mini Monsoon Tarot. I will never get over this depiction of the Hermit just because of, like, you know, escaping into books far away. It's still the idea of the light, but it's hinting at the reason why you're doing this is because the world that you know or could have known is burning down around you, right? Sometimes that's why you have to be the Hermit. Sometimes you're just a hermit. Actually, no, these two are the best. Sometimes you're just a hermit because you're hiding away to study, to think, to reflect, to build up knowledge in some particular way, becoming the wise old figure, you know. And sometimes it shows up as like a Bilbo Baggins situation where you need to be a hermit so that you can actually get shit done. Right? Sometimes it's that you need to get shit done. In his case, you know, he's writing his book that's supposed to be The Hobbit, right? Or it could be in like the Edmund Dulac tarot, where this older man figure is some kind of scholar, and he's studying his works and really trying to build up that knowledge base, you know. So that's a way that I like to see the Hermit. But then sometimes the Hermit is just like, yeah, going into that quiet place to calm down. Sometimes, I love this one forever, but like sometimes it's just you having to recharge on your own, doing the things you love best, like maybe listening to records, or for me, I know as a kid, escaping into books, right? You need to hermit yourself away so that you can feel better about yourself and the world around you. So I think these definitely pass my vibe check of what I look for in the Hermit, because while these depictions of the Hermit can sometimes be still very beautiful, sometimes I just don't, I don't jive with them, or they just look too traditional, and then I don't care about it. So yeah. But anyways, on to the next one. Okay, next up, let's talk about the High Priestess. I don't know why, but every time I look at a deck, I get almost kind of, I don't know how to explain this. I get kind of disappointed if I just see the typical High Priestess where it's just her sitting in, you know, her fancy little chair, has the two traditional towers in the background, and that's it. I'll be honest, I don't really care for that depiction of the High Priestess, because in my eyes, the vibe I tend to go for the High Priestess is somebody who looks like they are otherworldly. They have to be somebody who has ties to that liminal space where tarot, divination, all of that comes from. They have that like foot out the door, right? It's a traditional, what's it called? The traditional like oracle archetype, right? They are someone who has ties to the otherworldly, and that is why they are able to give the readings they do. It is tarot in its essence, okay? So when I look for High Priestess cards in decks, I am looking for things that show off that otherworldly essence in some way, shape, or form, or definitely gives you like almost like the chill up your spine, but in like a slightly good way, if that even makes sense. Like For instance, even though this is from the Teeny Tiny Tarot, I love this depiction. It is so simple, the High Priestess. It still has like the reference, you know, the pomegranate reference with Persephone, but it also shows that somewhere hiding behind this veil is that eldritch, otherworldly being that is the High Priestess, right? For that reason, love things that go towards this vibe. You know what also kind of goes towards this vibe? I'm going to pick some of these out as I go here. From the Raven's Prophecy Tarot, this is still one of my favorite High Priestesses ever. Also, I've shown this card a lot. This is otherworldly and magical, and you can't even fully explain the mystery of them, right? I love cards that depict it in this kind of way. And with that, even also goes, I would say this also kind of meets that. This is again from the Mini Monsoon. You can't even really tell who this figure is. They are in some kind of liminal space, mindscape. They are mysterious and otherworldly, and you don't know what they can say or do, right? Like those kind of depictions of the High Priestess like get me. Like even this one from the Nicoletta Ciccoli, she is something else. She's in a tower. She almost seems like this impenetrable force that you can never fully dive into and get to. Even her face is not revealing much, you know. What's some other depictions of that I really like? Like even this, right, is showing, in the Spacious Tarot, is showing the High Priestess. The moon is literally inside the shell, so the whole universe, some other worldly message could be coming to you in the smallest of objects, right? That still has the High Priestess energy. Even, actually, I think these, well, even this, even though this slightly has more traditional, okay, but I'll talk about these two. Like, this is from Anima Mundi Tarot. This is one of the cards, by the way, that actually made me decide to get this deck because, well, one, I love owls, and it still has pomegranate imagery, but there's something about this image that is so striking because even this animal, right, is showing this High Priestess otherworldly nature that you will never understand the depths of them. Even the High Priestess and this one just shows, like, I think people have talked about this deck, like the Dream Vision Tarot, like how otherworldly, again, but also almost in like this space-like way, cosmic way. The High Priestess is, like, knows all, sees all, you know, the light shining out of what would be your third eye. I love it. Even just like, and it could even just be in how simply the figures are done. Like this High Priestess is actually more traditional looking in some ways, right? Because you still see like the veil in the background, but she's more impenetrable in the way that her gaze is, right? Like look at her face. She's not revealing much. She's very different. She's the most sassy High Priestess I've probably seen of all my decks, but you're still not going to get to the heart of her. And then like these figures are just like beautiful mermaid holding the universe, kind of like the water. This one from the Paulina Tarot, just look at all the detail in this. I'm sorry, this is like fantastic, but she's still this like crazy being from the nether kind of feeling, right? And you could say even in Lord of the Rings, right, Galadriel is the High Priestess. There are depths of knowledge to her that I don't think, you know, anybody can really touch. And then there's just some that have like the right, you know, imagery for me. Like she's like dreamy, cosmic, you know, dreamy, cosmic. Not necessarily, well, kind of dreamy, not cosmic, but like dreamy. Still some figure that looks like she knows more and has the owl to guide, you know. Just all these kind of pass the vibe check for me. Like this Tarot of the Divine, you know, the story of Scheherazade. I think I said that right. Her and her 1001 Night Tales, right? The High Priestess, being able to depict it. This is also more traditional, but still dreamy, cosmic, dreamy, cosmic. And then there's the Everyday Witch Tarot, where this High Priestess is literally doing the tarot. The traditional fortune teller still has some of the traditional things, but it's showing the essence of where that whole energy is. So yeah, passing the vibe check there. Okay, now there's the Magician. I love the Magician just as much as I probably love the High Priestess and the Hermit, okay? Love, 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 love the Magician. But I think what I get bored of sometimes with traditional magician imagery, like this is probably the most traditional magician out of all the ones I'm going to show, is that, yes, cool. You want the idea of as above, so below. You want the, you know, the infinity, like their powers, endless, limitless, all those things, and something that shows all the elements. I understand. This is a very popular depiction to just do this and the figure in red robe because that's traditional. And I don't mind that image actually a lot, but the way that I prefer seeing the Magician is, yes, there's elements of this all in there, but it's not necessarily has to be in the traditional pose. I do not like necessarily. I think what your vibe is getting here is that I don't like very traditional depictions a lot of times if the decks are newer, right? If they're a newer deck, we don't need Rider-Waite-Smith clones, a lot of them, okay? We don't. But I do still like the colors in this one, the little raccoon here being the Magician, so that's why I'm going to show this one. But yes, I prefer when the Magician shows that they are still the master of everything without that necessarily traditional pose. So how does this show up a lot of times? Oh, even this one I was going to say, sorry. This one also shows a kind of more traditional, in that kind of vein. But you could even argue, okay, this is again from the Paulina Tarot. This Magician has so much going on, but you can tell that she is the master of all that she is working with. She's got things wrapped under control. Even the way that her pose is, right? Her head is tilted up. Eyes might be closed, but she has the slightest of smirks on her face. Like she knows who she is and what she is capable of. Love it. Magician is also that confidence piece. Like this Magician from the Guided Hand Tarot almost gives High Priestess vibes, to be honest. But she also has infinite power, right? Knows who she is and what she is capable of. And it is startling. And you will never also kind of reach it, but in a different way. I don't know how to explain. But I love this depiction. I also like just when you can tell straight away that the High Priest, I mean, not the High Priest, sorry, that the Magician is the master of the elements, right? Like this Magician, not traditional pose, but you can see all the elements here. You could see this Magician knows what they're doing, right? Being able to conjure things, to make things happen, to shape and change the world. Same with this Magician being a wizard, right? Who studied hard to get their mastery, right? They studied, they put the work in. It's not just it comes to them naturally. They have infinite power because they put the work in. Love it. And with that vein, you could also say, okay, these two, right? Gandalf and the Master. I don't know what to call them, but every time I see them, they kind of remind me of like the dream. They're like the Magician of dreams, right? Still put in a lot of work and effort, but they have infinite power that people are just in awe, right, of what they're able to do and accomplish. Even this Magician, and I guess this Magician, I like both of these. This is from the Tildwick Tarot, but I like both of these because they show that sometimes the Magician, a darker side to the Magician is that the Magician is a puppet master, right? It's hard to tell, but this is a little theater here. And this Magician is manipulating things for that little figure there, right? Sometimes the Magician knows all, and they might use it in a slightly darker way. But then, of course, there's this one from the Raven's Prophecy Tarot. This is so simple, and yet has all the traditional imagery represented in a way that's simple for what I'm saying. My hand, I have all the power in my hand and I can do anything. Magician, right? That's the vibes I'm looking for. Show me that strength and confidence. Then it doesn't necessarily have to look like this. It can look like these ones. Okay, I hope to go through these next ones more quickly. I feel like I went really in depth with the 3 major arcana ones that I want to show today instead of the rest. But let's quickly talk about the 3 of Wands. I love the 3 of Wands, but you know what made me actually love the card and understand its depth? This one. This one. So simple, and yet so effective in understanding the real essence of the 3 of Wands for me, okay? Why? Because you can clearly see that this boat is on a journey. It's going somewhere. And if the only way that's going to go forward is if all 3 parts of the wand are in alignment. If you are not in alignment, your journey will go far in the other direction. And then you have an Odyssey situation where you're scrambling and fumbling for 12 years, okay? This did it for me. This passed the vibe check, and this made me understand that this is what I want to see every single time I look at the 3 of Wands. I don't really care for... Okay, this one is the closest to this. I don't usually care for the image of the person who's just staring off into some distant realm with 3 wands in there. I do like this one from the Guided Hand Tarot only because there's a window here that they're looking out onto, and then you can get the sense that they are daydreaming, they are wondering, they are thinking and musing, how can I get towards that journey? It gives you a perspective, right, to think out of. So I do like this, but I don't like the traditional figure just standing off into distance. Like, that doesn't tell me anything about the start of a journey, you know? But this one, I also, you know, like it for very similar reasons, right? It shows the boat. So I can get the understanding, this is the 3 of Wands, right? I like this one also for showing a boat. This is from the pocket edition of the Star Seeker Tarot. Is that what it's called? Star Seeker? I don't know. I'm sorry. Why don't I know my deck names today? Don't know. But I love this one because it's still showing the essence of the journey and the 3 wands. And you could see that they're off trying to find somewhere, right? And it's just beautiful imagery. So this passes the vibe check for me. But these 3 also do, because you can see that they're at the start of a journey, but it's showing that the journey might not necessarily be easy. For instance, this 3 of Wands, she is on the struggle bus. She has to climb that ladder to get where she needs to go, showing that the journey is not always easy, right? So I love this one when it can show me some different depth to the 3. I love this one and this one, though, because they also just show the start of a journey and what it could mean, right? These explorers are about to go out and adventure together, right? And you don't know where, they don't know where their journey is going to take them or who they will be by the end. And the same with this one from, again, the Monsoon Tarot. Like, look at this cat. They are getting everything, right? They're getting a crown, maybe. They're getting the sword. It's the start of something new. And this cat is going to be forever shaped by it, right? So 3 of Wands. Okay, let's talk about 3 of Swords. This one I know gets a lot of controversy for a lot of different reasons. I'm first going to show you most traditional depictions of the 3 of Swords, as you guys can see, are this, right? They always show the 3 as just the part, the heartbreak, the 3 hearts stabbing in. You can tell there's pain, there's heartbreak. It's an immediate image, right? And it's interesting how many people hate this depiction. I actually don't mind it, but these are just the prettiest that can pass the vibe check. It still shows that, but it doesn't look like more traditional. I guess this one does, because this is literally from the, what's it called, a Morgan Greer. These are the most typical depictions of the 3 of Swords to show heartbreak. But then I also noticed an interesting trend where sometimes when people want to show the tragedy of the 3 of Swords, they just do this thing where, like, instead of stabbing through a heart, necessarily. They stab through animals, which, oops, sorry, this one's upside down, which sometimes I don't like this though. It like makes me cringe. I don't like animals being harmed. But these are some depictions that, while they're sad and you see tragedy and it kind of makes me cringe, at the same time, it's not, I don't know what it is. I'm not as threatened by these. But I just wanted to show that this was an interesting trend I found while looking through all my cards, is that this is a common thing to do too if they don't actually stab through a heart. But then, I'll be honest, my more favorite depictions of the Three of Swords is when you don't actually see the heart, but you still get the sense that there's tragedy. I mean, you could say for this one that, yeah, there's still the hearts being stabbed through, but the drama that's happening here is more that someone was writing in their feelings. They accidentally spilled ink on the bed and now they're just upsetty spaghetti, right? It doesn't have to be, it doesn't, sometimes this card just shows up when someone's being dramatic, okay? So I kind of like that this is depicted here. But then other times, you know, the pain is more obvious. This poor person has lost one of their companions, right? You see the tragedy in their face. This one is being stabbed through, like almost like, yeah, like how bugs and stuff are like preserved in this way. But she's still crying because it's like, I don't want to forever remember my sadness. And this one from the Tarot of the Divine, there's an interesting story with her. I haven't read it completely, but I think the point of this one, the tragedy that happens here, is that she eventually, this figure, is this Princess Kaguya? No, I don't remember. But she gets her like, she basically gets her wings chopped off, and that's like infinite amount of pain. You know what I mean? The betrayal of that, of having to cut yourself for somebody else, you know, which is probably why cards like these, you know, show, as this card says from Practical Magic, is heartbreak warfare, right? If it's not your heart being utterly eviscerated, like of depicting, maybe it's as, you know, fucked up looking as someone stabbing you through with a bunch of knives in your hands, or coming at you with the knife so that things are eviscerated. I don't know. I don't mind seeing the knife imagery. I mean, even this one, right? You get the sense that there's tragedy here still. So I prefer these ones. And this one is just, I don't know what it is about this one that really gets me. Again, from the Monsoon Tarot, you get the sense that this figure in the distance is coming for this person who has already lost everything. They've probably lost their home, their family, everything they've known, and yet someone is coming to kind of finish it off. It's a lot, but I like when the pain of this card is shown in just a variety of different ways. Oh, and I almost forgot this one. I think, so this is from the Dungeons and Dragons Tarot, and the sense that I always get from this one is that either this figure has been like poisoned, and the tragedy of it is that this has become their undoing, or this was another life and they are crying because some other life was spilled to create this. Either way, really cool depiction of the three. So, Three of Swords. Now let's talk about the Eight of Pentacles. This is a weirdly favorite card for me, and I don't know why. Maybe because I've related to this energy so many times, especially when I was in school. But Eight of Pentacles. Most traditional depictions show the Eight of Pentacles as some kind of masonry person, or like kind of close to this idea of a blacksmith, or someone who's like hard at work and they have like all the little pentacles and they're putting them there. That's fine. That's a fine depiction, whatever. It gives you your point across. But I prefer when you see craftsmanship in a variety of different ways. So let's kind of explore some of these. Dungeons and Dragons Tarot. This is an actual blacksmith or swordsmith, right? Hard at work. Takes a lot of energy to perfect their craft and to make great swords. To do pottery, you also need more. Like, learn more, practice more. You have to keep going to actually make it, well, successful, a bowl that'll work for you, you know? Same could be said with beavers, right? Beavers are very hardworking to make their dams. They are the very essence of the worker, 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 right? But you could also argue the same. Oh, sorry. I know not everyone likes bugs, but like bees, same thing. Bees are also very hardworking to make their hives. And even, I know another once again, but even a spider, right? Even a spider, with their web, right? The intricate details of having to create these. I love when animals are depicted in this way so that people can get a good sense of like what it takes. And even just like, I mean, some of these go into it too. Like this one from the Herb Crafter's Tarot, like it takes a lot of work to learn how to dye things with turmeric, right? To make beautiful clothing. Maybe the work that you're doing is just trying to find the right key to unlock something, right? Like keep going, keep going, keep going. Or even growing things in a garden takes a lot of energy, right? Like literally you have to make sure you're checking, do they have enough sunlight? Do they have enough water? So that they grow fruitful. But then there's even like, I kind of like both of these. They kind of go in the same vibe check of like, yes, you are the Eight of Pentacles. You're hard at work, but in a very different way. That's not just traditional masonry. Like both of these are kind of witchy. You got a pot of stew or witch's brew going here. And you're hoping that at the end of it, right, that you have a successful potion. Still takes a lot of work to plan and put all that together. I also like these though for very different ones that kind of fit into the vibe. Like I really like this Eight of Stones from the Green Glyphs Tarot because it shows that sometimes the Eight of Pentacles can show up naturally in how islands are formed, right? Islands don't just come from anywhere. They have to spring from volcanic eruption. And not only then does it have to spring from volcanic eruption, they have to slowly come to the surface through tectonic plate pushing and also like, constant volcanoes and all kinds of things to make them spring. But then finally, I do like when some decks show the Eight of Pentacles or, even Eight of Coins in a way that's not all cheery, right? These show hard work. But for instance, if you're going to be a pirate who's trying to get your next treasure, that takes a lot of work on planning and scheming and plotting to get what you want, and it won't be easy. Even this one, right? I really like this depiction, as bloody and gruesome as this one is for the Eight of Coins, because it shows that there's tragedy in this. Sometimes you're forced to do this work and it's hard and you don't like it. And still, you have to do it. You have to. There's no escaping it. And I like that this deck actually depicts that, right? That there's tragedy here and you're not going to be able to get by as easily as you thought, but you're doing it for others, right? Sometimes the 8 is in that energy. So these ones passed a vibe check for me because it doesn't just show the traditional. Again, it's showing different ways of craftsmanship and hard work and determination. So yeah. Okay. 7 of Cups. I've talked about this a few times, but I don't think you've all have seen the variety of this as much. 7 of Cups is one of my weirdly favorite cards, and I say weirdly because obviously the 7 is about choices and you don't know which choice is actually the good one for you necessarily. But I love actually more traditional depictions of it because they actually show the choices. A lot of people actually cop out with the 7 of Cups. They don't show that all the choices can be equally tantalizing or frightening, you know? So let's show some of these, right? Like, obviously, I mean, this is like kind of self-explanatory, right? They all show the choices. These are more traditional looking of those, but like so many options, right? So many, so many, so many options. Like, what do you do? It gives you anxiety. How do you even know? This is kind of like anxiety card stated very clearly. And yet I love it. Like, if it shows me all the cool options and like what potential pathways that this person could take, I love it. It has to show me the pathways. If it doesn't show me the pathways, I'm kind of annoyed. Like even this one from the mini oak, ash, and thorn at least shows that there's different pathways that this poor little squirrel can take, right? You have to show the choices. I'm sorry. That's my non-negotiable with this, is like you have to show the choices, even if it's very small and subtle. Like in the Starseeker Tarot, there is still choices, right? They're very subtle, but you can see that this one is a snake. This one is showing the light. There is only one clear, real path, but she still has to suffer through all these ones. There's even a cup in the tree, you know. It's a different take, but at least it still kind of shows the choice. And this one, this is from the Line Strider Tarot, the mini, and so it might be hard to see. The reason why I like this one, and despite how limited it looks, is that it's very, very subtle and showing the choices. You see the agony of choice on their face, but then I hope oh, here we go. It does pick it up. Okay. If you look very carefully in the shards here, you can see that the choices are still there. There's a crown. I think one of these is an apple. You can see the snake. This I can't, oops, sorry. It's like not focusing now. This I can't tell what it is, but it looks like it's some kind of other like creature maybe. And I don't know what that one is, but I can tell there's another choice in there, right? You can still see the choices, and it's depicting that this is a hard choice, right, to make, but they're all still there. So yeah, I actually like more. Please don't show me just like boring cup. Well, this verges on like not liking it, but like don't just show me boring cup with the same 6 egg or 7 eggs inside of it or whatever. That was like from the, what was it, Dream Vision Tarot? No. Okay, no. You have to put the options. Sorry, not sorry, but yeah. But anyways, this is my vibe. This is what it has to show. Next one, 10 of Wands. As you can see, not very many compared to other decks. Vibe check here is I'm actually kind of picky about the 10 of Wands. Why? Well, we know traditionally that this card is about a burden, a heavy burden to carry, and having to have gone on a journey. You're almost near the end, almost, but it doesn't feel sometimes like you're almost at that end, right? This one here from the Line Strider again is the most obvious depiction of it, right? You always see someone with the stack of wands or whatever. I like this one simply because you could see that this figure is so burdened by their load that they have actually fallen down and they are contemplating if they can get back up again. That is what this card is really about to me, right? This one also shows the burden of carrying the wands, but you can see they're almost at the end of their journey. They're actually going towards somewhere. It's not just them carrying it to some unknown location. Like, I hate that depiction. Like, it just looks like they're carrying it, cool, but what are they doing with it? What is their end goal? I like that a Starseeker actually shows you there is an end goal in sight, right? And the same kind of like with this from the guided hand, I love, look at how strong she looks. Like she looked puzzled. It is a little hard to carry, but look at, like, she's doing it. She's hustling. So I really like that vibe check too. Or even this one, like the 10 of Fire, showing like the strength required to like lift this mushroom away. It can be a lot of work, you know. Or even this Explorer trying, I can't, you know, this card is interesting. I can't tell if these, I don't even know what they are. Are these goblins? I don't know if these goblins are like hindering this warrior or if they're going with them. But either way, you know, there's a lot to fight off here. Very strong force. I like this one, right? That it shows the hard work involved in this one. This one also shows, though, the end of the journey. So I like seeing this one from the Dream Vision. The the wands are going towards something, right? You're going towards a goal. You keep trying and trying, even if it doesn't seem like there's an end in sight. In that vein, this is still one of my favorite depictions is a 10 of Wands, because the flaming tips on the end of these antlers show that if this regal stag is not staying correctly on the path, if they are not careful, as soon as their antlers turn in a different direction, they could set everything ablaze. That is what's hard about this card, is that you have a heavy burden to carry, but you have to keep going even though it's tough, right? I love this depiction. And it passes the vibe check for me. And finally, I like this one because it shows an almost Atlas-like situation where this like fairy-like being here is responsible for carrying the weight of this small little fairy-like community, right? That if they cannot hold the burden, this whole city will crumble, right? 10 of Wands. Passes that vibe. It's got to show the struggle, but I just don't want to see the, you know, more typical-ish kind of depictions. Okay, let's be honest here. 9 of Swords. Kind of low-hanging fruit. What I mean by that is that most people actually get the essence of this card pretty well. As you can see, because I have plenty of choices here, right? of what I think passes the vibe check of the 9 of Swords. I mean, you do get a sense that like some of the more traditional depictions of the 9 is that somebody has woken up from a nightmare. And there's tragedy involved with that because it caused a lot of anxiety and fear and confusion, even if it was for the briefest moment of time. But the thing about that is that it doesn't always show the depth of what I think this card is really about. So a lot of these are low-hanging fruit, but I mean, this is just, I thought this was an interesting one because it's showing the pomegranate, and we all know pomegranate's linked with Persephone. There's whole tales about the earth in that and the tragedy and confusion that goes along with that. So that just has very vague imageries of it. A lot of these just show like the traditional like fear involved, right? There's a lot of fear. Tildwick, Spacious Tarot, Dream Vision, Teeny Tiny. You show that there's some kind of horror, some kind of assault on the mind or on the senses, or real assault coming, or being maybe a prisoner in a cell like this figure here, right? Sometimes that's the anxiety of the 9. Even this one, right? Or this one who's being chased by a ghoul from the Paulina, or the Monsoon again. This bee person is just like trapped in this jar, and it doesn't seem like there's a way to get out of their situation, right? That's sometimes what the 9 feels like. Or imminent fear like this one, right? From Prisma Visions. Like they are literally going to get their head eaten off here. Like that's scary. Like what the hell? But sometimes, oh, and even this one, I guess. But sometimes my best depictions, or my favorite to see in the vibes of a deck, is when the 9 of Swords is represented as anxiety that you probably could have avoided if you just calmed the fuck down. Like this one, for instance, from the Raven's Prophecy, is only warning you that if you keep going the way you are, it could lead to death and bare bones and tragedy. Okay, it's a warning. It doesn't have to come. You can navigate around the warning here. I mean, once again, literary tarot, Macbeth. Macbeth could have avoided a lot of drama, and didn't, but, you know, that led to tragedy and bloodshed, right? Then we have this 9 of Swords, where this person isn't like completely afraid, but they're looking up into the sky and seeing the omens that some kind of force, some kind of darkness, some kind of other thing could be on the horizon, but he can take action. He can do something about it. And of course, I've talked about this card. I've shown this card so many times. The 9 of Swords from the Tarot of the Divine, Oedipus Rex. could have avoided. The Oracle tried to give a prediction of what they thought was going to happen. They stated what they thought. But this family was so afraid of it coming to pass that they did the most dramatic thing possible. They got rid of their son. And at the same time, it ended up being the downfall. The father still died and he accidentally marries his mother, right? Yeah, this is the ultimate like way to show this card, in my opinion. But all these show the vibe very, very well. And a lot of people actually get this pretty right. I just don't like when it's the traditional sleeper waking up. Because it's not just nightmares. It's not just like the things that you know aren't actually there. It can actually be warning you of things too. So yeah. Nine of Swords. Okay. When I look at tarot decks, another card that I look at the most to see if people are actually getting the vibe of the card right. Well, actually, the last three I'm going to show, this one and then the other two, are actually all queens. I know, that's kind of weird. Why do I have a weird fixation with the queens? I really don't know. Especially because I'm not binary, so it's like, it's not like I think I am a queen. I don't know how to explain that, but I always look at the queens. I guess it's because I understand their energy the best, and I don't even fully understand why. But anyways, not important. Let's get into this. This is the Queen of Cups. My thing with the Queen of Cups is that I need my queens to show me that they capture the essence that's very similar to the High Priestess in energy. Yes, it needs some kind of, I think, elemental association with me with water. As you can see, there's a lot of water here. Even this card, by the way, from the Tildewick Tarot, still has water inside of it and this like ethereal lightness and other feeling that I think the Queen provides. This romanticism to the Queen, right? But it definitely needs to show just that this Queen is otherworldly. She's dreamy. She's very close to that High Priestess. But she's powerful. And especially in this case, her third eye is open and she knows the depths of emotion and relationships and the things that bind people together, you know. I think that's what the Queen, like the slight difference between the Queen and the High Priestess is that the Queen cares the most about those love, friendship, emotions, the depths of what make a person, I guess, besides, I guess, their mind. So anything that shows that in subtle ways or shows that she's otherworldly, right? Depth of knowledge, shows that ocean-like energy. I do like when the ocean energy shows up. But then, yeah, like I said, it also has to be a figure that's dreamy and otherworldly, and you can tell that they're an intuitive empath, right? That they understand where you might be coming from, and they can give you the guidance, even if you don't fully understand who they are, right? You can't reach the depths of them, but they can reach the depths of you and help you. I just really like the Queen of Cups. And if someone does an ugly depiction of the Queen of Cups, yeah, sometimes I will be a little bit bitter about that. So, yeah. Okay, Queen of Swords. I've talked about the Queen of Swords quite a few times before. I think why I look at the Queen of Swords a lot in a deck is because not only does the Queen of Swords directly remind me of my own, like a person in my real life, like my sister and stuff, but also because I have very strong opinions of how I think the Queen of Swords particularly should present herself. That's kind of a weird take, but let me explain, okay? I see the Queen of Swords as somebody who's ready. Even this one. These are actually the most, yeah. I would say these ones are the most obvious out of all these depictions. Anyways, I liked seeing the Queen of Swords as somebody who's ready to throw hands at any given moment, okay? It's really weird to say, but I do. The Queen of Swords, in my opinion, is someone who is powerful, who is ready for business. They can be very, very severe, or if they're not very severe, they're at least severe when it comes to the things that they know that need to get done. When shit needs to get done, they are there and they are going to cut their way through, just like Éowyn here from The Lord of the Rings, right? They are someone who will do it with poise and grace, or maybe even a stink face, but they're going to tell you what you need to know. And even if they're calm and aloof of a version of the Queen of Swords, right? Or just like very calm and doesn't necessarily show that they're tough, but as soon as they open their mouth, you can tell they're going to like hit a truth bomb or deep wisdom here. That's kind of the queen for me. I mean, these ladies also kind of show that, but in interesting ways. Like this is from the Morgan Greer. Something about her, she is so subtle. I really like this Queen of Swords because with the roses being around her, you get the sense that she is the epitome of a rose, right? She is beautiful to look at, maybe. But if you try to fuck with her, you will get her thorns, right? That is the Queen of Swords, in my opinion. This Queen of Swords, I really like this one from the Starseeker too because she's just tough. She's a badass bitch. You can tell she has been through some shit, but she knows what has to be done, and she is strong and will get it done. Same kind of with this one, right? Same kind of tired look in the eyes, but still gets it. But also, let's not forget that even though she knows what to say and she might be brutal and blunt with her words, she is wise. She is someone who has studied, who has tried, who knows because she's had experiences, doesn't always get them right, isn't always kind about it, but is always looking to like better and try, you know? And that's the vibe I think that the queen gives me. And if this doesn't show up, again, more lukewarm feelings. Lastly, I have to talk about who I know was my first favorite queen of the queens that I look at. You'll notice I sadly ditched the Queen of Pentacles. I don't know what it is. Nothing against her personally. I just don't look to her to give me a deck vibe, you know. My last favorite is the Queen of Wands. So many people show the Queen of Wands in a very traditional way where she's just like on her throne. She has a cat. Now listen, I love cats. I have a black cat. Okay? Love cats. For some reason though, if I always just see the queen as simply like has like maybe a smile or smirk on her face and just a cat, I don't think that really captures the full essence of the queen. So some of these I like a little more, right? Like for instance, you know that like, well, I guess even this one, right? You know that these queens are sassy. You know that they, like this one says sass, right? That is one way to think about the Queen of Wands. She's sassy. She's confident, very confident, right? The Queen of Hearts, very confident, even when she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. This is more traditional, I guess, depiction because it still shows the fiery element, her strong pose. But instead of a cat, it's a cute little dragon, so that's why I included this one. I like that this was a different take on that. But they are all strong and powerful, and they know who they are. They know that in their hand they wield fire that could either burn you or save you, right? To be the light or to be your destruction, right? That is the kind of queen I like. I like the confident queens. I want to be the Queen of Wands, but I'm not. You know, I'm not this powerhouse who can just blaze their way through, who's hard-headed and, you know, knows what they need to get done. Like even these two show that kind of for me too. Like literally like breathing fire and being from a volcano, right? The vibes. Like I need to see that power and strength in the Queen of Wands. And I guess even this one, right? Or these two. Like literally this Queen of Wands is like sending out this dragon to go slay the enemies. It gives me very Daenerys Targaryen vibes, but like that is the Queen of Wands, you know, someone who's got to do what they got to do and they're not afraid to burn the world down with them, you know. I just like this one from the Zerner Farber though, because like, I don't know, there's something about her gaze that seems very confident and dreamy and fiery, and I like it. Again, has to have it in the very subtle of ways. But I also like when people actually acknowledge that the Queen of Wands is, yes, fiery and confident and not afraid to burn the world down, but is also someone with elegance like this one, and beauty and grace, and is also very strong and a strategist. They are also a patron, right? They might be really great at music or writing or art. And they're confident in that because they've practiced and also put in that work. Or they are just the strategist, right? They are the chess master. They are controlling things and they know what to do and how to pull those strings. And yet at the same time, they might do it with a smile or on their face, or be, the sunflowers. I just like when these are shown. The queen has to be shown as, the essence of everything. I don't know. But yeah, sorry. Wow, this video is way too long. I'm looking at like the timestamp for it right now. It is really long. But that's because I just look at very specific cards and they just have to fit that vibe for me. If I'm going to want this deck forever in my collection, they have to pass the vibe check. And I do look at all these cards when considering a deck and if it's strong enough for me, Very long-winded video to explain all that, but if you've been watching, thank you so much. And I will see you all again next time with either a different tarot tag or deck or, it's the same old jazz. But anyways, I'm going to peace out now. Bye, everyone.